see if this works. I'm also going to record it, I think. I have a hard time with recording things. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here so far. Whoops, 4. Somebody just left. Oh, there we go. Hi, welcome everybody. You're also creative with your, what is it called? Your icons or images or avatars. That's the word I'm looking for, your avatars. I hope you're all hearing me okay. I'm just realizing I just threw on like a pair of earbuds that I found in the drawer. Hopefully it's coming through okay. My Bluetooth, fancy Bluetooth ones were getting low on battery, so I'm like relying on the old school technology. Okay, I'm just gonna give everyone like another minute and then we will jump in and get started. Feel free to say hello in the chat. You should have access to the chat. Maybe let us know where you're joining from. We do have schools participating from across Canada, so always fun to kind of know where everybody's located. I'm in Ontario, just a little bit north of Toronto. And it's dark where I am. That's why the lighting's a little bit terrible. I thought I remembered you were DDSB. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to get started. I really appreciate you giving up some of your valuable time, especially if you're joining us from like it's evening outside of kind of work hours. I know that's super valuable time, so we'll jump right in. Just first of all, hello, my name is Rebecca. If you if you haven't met me before, by now you should have probably received an email or two from me. And we are here tonight to just share a little bit more about the upcoming Future City experience. So I'm very excited to welcome everybody to that program. My goal for this evening is just to make sure any questions that you might have about the program are answered, and just share a little bit of maybe insights into how the program works and what you can expect for the next weeks and months to come. So I just wanted to, and thank you all for sharing your locations. It's nice to know where everybody's joining us from. Wanted to just let you know, put a face to some of the names. Sometimes we get the emails back and forth all the time. That's always nice to see who you're talking to. So we have the wonderful support from Engineers Canada for this program, and our main contact person there is Kim Buffard. Myself, I am with Engineers of Tomorrow, so we are kind of primarily responsible for the operations, I'll say, of the program. So connecting with all the teachers and all the engineer mentors and just making sure that things are running smoothly. So I'm your primary contact person for the duration of the program. And then we also have my very esteemed colleague, Sarah Rishu, who is managing more on the mentor side of things at the moment. I wanted to just quickly pause and show you that Oh my goodness, I just realized I'm sharing slides that you can't see. You're like, who are these people you're talking about? I don't see anyone. So let me just pause and share my screen here. That's better. Okay, there. So as I mentioned, now you can see the faces there, Kim and myself and Sarah. And what I was trying to show you here is that you're part of something really big. So this is actually a screenshot of the participation or the locations of everyone that participated in last year's program. So really exciting to see that we have people from coast to coast that are joining this program, and nice perspective, I think, for even the students to have that it's a national collaboration and there's all kinds of people working on this same design challenge at the same time. At the moment, we have close to, I think it's about 130 schools that are signed up for the program. Registration does close on Friday. So if you were planning to share this awesome opportunity with anyone else in your network, please make sure that you pass the word along soon, because Friday is going to come quickly. And we also have amazing representation this year between English and French. So we have our friend Margot joining us today, who is helping and supporting out on the French side of things, because we are seeing a real increase in demand from French-speaking schools, school boards, and like French immersion programs as well. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in. So what does this program look like in the classroom? So what we traditionally see, and that's where I'm going to start, is a class would get divided into smaller groups, usually around 3 or 4 students, and each group would work on imagining, designing, and then building a model of their future city. Now, to support with that, we have, of course, the engineer mentors. We have asked the mentors to commit to making 3 virtual visits with your class, so that they can, just get to, they get to meet an engineer, somebody, maybe a profession they've never been exposed to before. And then, of course, someone who can help you out, maybe find answers to some of the questions they might be having, and ask the kids questions too. We encourage them to help the kids think outside the box and try and get them, thinking of different innovations and different technologies that might exist. That is, like I said, the sort of traditional model. But one of the really important things about this particular program is that it is not a competition. And I say that specifically because it's important in that it allows us to make the program very adaptable and very flexible. So you can pretty much customize this in any way that's going to work for your class, for your students, for the amount of time you have, the amount of resources that you have, etc. So another really neat version of the program that I've seen is where the class again gets divided up into smaller groups, similar size, 3 or 4 students. And instead of each group working on one model, they're all working together on one city. So each group gets assigned more like a segment. So one group might be working on transportation, one group might be working on infrastructure, residential. So you can kind of cut it up in different ways to make it work for whatever the interests are in your particular class. And then it's nice because then at the end of it, they kind of all come together with this one city that represents your class. Hot tip, that's a great way to do it if you are limited by space, because having 5 or 6 big giant models of future cities take up all kinds of space in your classroom can be an issue. And speaking of space, another option for the city builds is that you can do them virtually. So if you do have access in your board to something like Minecraft or want to use a program like Tinkercad, those are amazing ways to have the students actually build their city models. Okay, so in terms of how this all sort of fits together, I thought it would make the most sense if we just kind of go through chronologically what's going to happen. So the first thing coming up is the kickoff event on February 1st. The kickoff event for English speaking classes is happening, I believe it starts at 1 p.m. We are working together with Ontario Tech University for the kickoff event, and I think they just got the website up and running today. So stay tuned. I'll be sending you all the relevant information on like how to join the kickoff event. It's essentially just done as a live stream, like a YouTube live stream. So you'll be able to watch it live. And then you'll also have the ability to ask questions. So we have a panel of these amazing subject matter experts that will be joining us, who will introduce themselves and kind of plant some seeds of ideas in just to get things going. And then we're saving a big chunk of time for students to ask any questions that they might have. We use a moderated platform called Slido, I believe is the one they're using. Again, we'll send more instructions on all the details of what you need to know and how that all works as we very quickly approach February the 1st. Following the kickoff, or the week following the kickoff, that's when we'll be sending out the Meet Your Mentor emails. So that's done by email. You will be matched with an engineer mentor, and through that email, you'll have their contact information. And from there, we essentially leave it up to you and the engineer to connect and plan out when the dates and times for the visits, the mentor visits. Recommendations on our side: plan maybe one visit in February, one visit in March, one visit in April. As I mentioned, we've asked them to commit to making 3 virtual visits. So that is sort of a nice kind of frequency. The first visit, we would encourage them to make it more of an introductory visit. We really want them to connect with the students, so share some information about themselves and how they became an engineer and maybe some of the challenges that they had to overcome, and then just get them excited about what's to come and letting them know they're there to help and encourage them through it. With the second visit that happens in March, obviously your students would have had some time to kind of go away and start their designs and at least think about some of the ideas. So they might have some questions for their mentors. If possible, a best practice, if you can send those questions to the engineers in advance, it does give them time to do their homework. You'll find this kind of funny, but I can tell you, because we talk to each and every one of them, a lot of them are really nervous to talk to students about engineering. They're used to talking to their peers, their colleagues, their leadership teams, presenting big reports. So they're really wanting to do the best they can. So sending them any questions in advance at least will help them feel prepared if it's maybe a subject that they're not super up to date on. The second visit is also a great time to talk to the students about the engineering design process, which is a tool that all engineers use. It's definitely something, if you're here joining us from Ontario, then I know that the science curriculum includes the engineering design process now. And so this design challenge is a great opportunity to use the engineering design process as students work through this really, truly complex challenge. And then the third visit, the recommendation from our side would be that if possible, they make it sort of a preparation for the national showcase, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. Just a good opportunity to help the students feel confident, comfortable, prepared to present at this exciting event. All that said, you can do something totally different if you and your engineer get together and decide you want to go in a different direction and figure something else out. By all means, you're welcome to do that. That's just sort of some context for you so that you have some idea of what to expect. So now the National Showcase. So that's happening for English speaking on May the 10th. If you haven't participated before, I recognize at least one or two of these names. I think maybe they have, but the National Showcase is a virtual event. Your students will be invited to do their presentation at the showcase. Logistically, the way it works is we set up private meet rooms. And so we would share that unique URL with you in advance so you know sort of when and virtually where to be at what time. And then we have other activities going on throughout the event. So it sort of starts off with a keynote. We have a really fun guest speaker that will be sort of kicking things off. And then from there, we transition into about 3 rounds of activities. So one of those rounds would be the class presentation. And then the other 2 rounds would be some sort of other interactive activity. Again, our friends at Ontario Tech University are designing those activities for us. Just to give you an idea, last year they did, I think there was one on artificial intelligence. There was one, they did like a Kahoot quiz around sort of the subject, and a Tinkercad demo. That was the other one. So and then we sort of bring everybody back together for the last 10 or 15 minutes or so, just to kind of wrap things up. And just again, to reiterate, the showcase is not a competition. So I have had teachers email me and ask like, who won? How do we find out who won? We don't have winners in this event. During the class presentation, what will happen is the students will do their presentation. There will be a panel of engineers that they will be presenting to. And the engineers will then go away and do a short deliberation. So before that, they'll have some Q&A with the students. Then they'll go away, do a short deliberation to then come back and decide if the student designs are worthy of being stamped. So that's sort of the seal of approval when it comes to engineering. If an engineer is stamping a design, it means that it's safe for the general public. And so that's the kind of the results, I'll say, of the presentation or the showcase. The one really important thing is that, and this can influence how you want to set up the program in your class, is that due to really just resources, we can only support 1 presentation per class. So if you did decide to have each small group in your class doing a full city build, then you would have to either make a decision or have the students vote or have some way of picking one of those groups to be the group that gets to present at the showcase. That's the nice thing if you decide to do the break the students up and have them each working on a segment so that you produce 1 city from your class. That's the nice thing about doing that way, is that at the showcase, you're presenting sort of your whole class's city. And then just a week prior to the showcase on the 10th, we ask that you submit the presentations that will be shared at the event. Just the PowerPoint slides is all we need. And we ask that you do that because we like to pull some of the images out so that we can put together a bit of a gallery so that you get to see some of the cities from the other classes that are participating across the country. And then before I move on to the next slide, I just wanted to reiterate our primary method of communication really is email. It happens to us every year that emails get put into spam folders or junk folders. So please, if you aren't hearing from your engineer or there seems to be a gap in communication, make sure you have us marked as safe or reach out to us to find out what's going on so we can get that resolved quickly. So some of the frequently asked questions that we get, I'll just go through these and hopefully this will cover maybe some of the questions or concerns that you have. Are visits done in person or virtual? So the expectation we set is that the visits are done virtually. That said, when we do the matches, we are going to prioritize proximity. So if your engineer mentor is close enough to your school to do virtual visits and they are comfortable with that, then by all means, they're welcome to, and you're welcome to do that. And otherwise, I mean, a lot of times we're just limited by geography. So we have to kind of default to virtual visits. Since they aren't really involved in the hands-on part of this program, virtual visits work really well. So that's a great way to go. What do mentors talk about with the students? So I kind of covered that in terms of like what to expect with the first, second, and third visit. I did want to also mention though that we are talking to all of the mentors. They go through an orientation session with us as well. And one of the things that we tell them is to be open to feedback. So you all are experts on the students in your class. And if you think that maybe they could adjust their approach slightly to have a better impact or be more relatable, please absolutely give them that feedback so they can adjust their approach the next time they see the students. How do I communicate with my mentor? What happens if they don't respond? Again, so I mentioned we rely primarily on email. Once you get connected with your mentor, I highly recommend you sort that out with them right away so that you can keep the sort of lines of communication open. If you prefer to use Google Meet or text or whatever your preference is, just make sure you have that figured out. And if you're not hearing from them, please let us know as soon as possible so that we can respond accordingly and figure out what's going on. What if the engineer has trouble connecting with the students? Again, I'll go back to give them some feedback. As I mentioned, a lot of them they're very, very passionate and excited to get involved with this program. They're volunteers, so they're coming to us and they want to share that passion with others. But they can be nervous. So give them feedback, give them reassurance, maybe give them some insights into your particular class and the dynamic that you have this year with them. What else have we got? What happens if something changes with your situation? Maybe you have to change grades or schools mid-year, people move, lots of things can happen. If possible, we just ask that you let us know as soon as you can, again, so we can just react accordingly and hopefully keep things seamless for the students that have been involved. What resources are provided? So I will go through at the end of this, I'll keep my screen sharing on and I'll show you some of the resources, but we have some student handouts around building the city models. We have presentation tips. We have the gallery of cities from previous years. So if you're just sort of looking for sources of inspiration, and then also the presentation template. That's a really good one to look at early on if you can. Again, because it may inform how you decide to set up the groups or set up your class. The way the presentation template is set up, it's already broken down into sort of sub-segments or subcategories of the city, of a city. So if you're not sure sort of how to break up the class into different groups, that's a good kind of default that you can use. Okay, so what's next? So kickoff event is coming up February 1st. So as I mentioned, stay tuned for an email from myself or someone from the support team. We have emails coming from, I think it's futurecity@engineersoftomorrow.ca. And we will share all the kind of pertinent, relevant information that you need to know for that event. By the way, if you can't attend the live event, no big deal. It will be recorded, so you could share it and have your students watch it another time. And if you do attend the event and the questions from your students don't get answered, because we'll have lots coming in, we do our best to try and take all the questions that do get submitted, and then the subject matter experts can go away and answer them, and we send you all out a PDF with some of the responses. Okay, now I'm sort of wrapping up before I'm going to open it up to all your kind of questions. So this is my little plug here to ask for your help in getting a window into the classroom. So if you are someone who likes to use Twitter or one of the other social media platforms, we're on all of them, and you're taking pictures and sharing them, please tag us so that we can see them and we can kind of like them and share them too. It's really great when we get that little window into what's going on in the class. Awesome. So that's my, how did I do, 24-minute speech on the Future City experience. So feel free, if you have any questions, you can put them into the chat. We're not a super huge group here too, so feel free, if you're comfortable, you can unmute yourself and ask away. And maybe I'll put Margot on the spot. Margot, did I miss anything that you can think of? Margot's been through the program herself, so.
I think you did great. You covered everything.
Okay.
I have a quick question for you, a couple actually.
Go for it.
Is there still an essay piece that's required, or is it just the slideshow?
So for those, what school board are you with, Jenny Lynn?
Kawartha Pine Ridge.
Kawartha Pine Ridge. Okay. So this is a good point, and I should have clarified this earlier. The Future City experience, it originates from the Future City competition. So the experience is like an abbreviated version of the full competition. The competition is run by Discovery, and it runs more like September to January timeframe. And I'm assuming you've seen something in somewhere written down about the essay, because yes, they require that you do an essay, and like there's a lot to it, and it's wonderfully designed. But we specifically set the experience version of the program to be more accessible. So you only have to do the presentation, and like I said, you can really adapt it in any way that's going to work for you, because it's not a competition, right? There's not like a big fancy rubric that we have to make sure that we're sort of leveling the playing field for everybody. Maybe I'll mention too, this happened last year. I had some teachers emailing me like a week before the showcase saying, oh my gosh, we're not going to finish, we can't attend. Please still attend. Even if they're not finished, it's okay. It's kind of like real life, right? They can show up, they can do the bit of their presentation that maybe they do have ready, or just speak to the parts that they have done so far, and the engineers can give them feedback on that. Really, from our perspective, our goal is that we're getting them curious, we're exposing them to engineering in this innovative way that maybe they haven't had before. So the fact that they don't get it fully completed is absolutely okay. They're still welcome to join the showcase. Did that answer more than one of your questions, Jenny
Yeah.
Lynn? Okay, good.
It did. Thank you. Great.
Is there anyone on the call who did the experience before? I thought some names seemed familiar, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Hi, it's Tanya. I'm just wondering, you were talking about putting the groups. I like the idea of not having 4 different or 5 different
Yeah.
activities in my classroom, and then
Yeah.
breaking it up into small groups. I'm just wondering, like, when you're talking about it, so you talked about transportation, residential infrastructure.
Mhm.
Is there other components I could put in there?
Yes.
Being brand new.
So let me see if I can switch this over now.